this every day. Can I please just get a break from all the fighting? I'm fucking up my brain every day. Cycle starting to look the same, and I don't wanna be the one to leave you crying. I make sure that it was steak on your plate. Now I'm broken and afraid. Can I please just get a break, baby? I'm dying. Loving you was a mistake. You a snake. I was asleep, now I'm awake. I know you sick from all the pressure I'm applying. I used to pull up with flowers. You be fucking me for hours. Power is what you felt when I say, baby, louder. Sour is how these niggas feel.
What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're checking out the Restomod edition of Tracy McGrady's Adidas T-Mac 2.0 in this SVSM colorway. So if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So taking a quick look at the box and the price. The box design is pretty simple, but Tracy's player logo with Adidas is really tough. Like, I hadn't really seen it before. You know, T-Mac's a little bit before my era. I've kind of just seen highlights and stuff like that. But I mean, that logo is going to show up on the top of this box, along with a few other places on there too. But for pricing, I'm not really sure what these are originally retailed for. But this Restomod T-Mac is set at $130 for retail, which is a pretty good price point. I mean, middle of the pack to ranging on the lower side for a signature shoe, so that's nice. So checking out the appearance for these, just to touch on the SVSM colorway for a second. That's actually going to stand for St. Vincent St. Mary, which happens to be the same high school that LeBron went to. So the green is there to match that color scheme from their jersey, so I did like that. But as far as the look goes, I mean, I can't lie, these do give off a pretty heavy retro vibe to them. I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but I mean the patent leather, it's going to kind of point to that on the upper, just the overall design of the shoe. And then the gold and the yellow lines that kind of streak across the midsole give these a pretty unique look. I honestly can't tell if I like it, don't like it, if I just, I'm kind of indifferent on it. But I mean, it is the same sort of look or font that they used on Tracy's player logo, so I did think that was cool. That's probably what they were going for, in that spot. And then above that, you're going to have the three stripes logo. That's kind of the three stripes for Adidas logo. It's going to be embossed into the shoe. I think that's pretty clean. And then on the inside, kind of in the same spot, you're going to get more of a stenciled in three stripes logo there. And then on the back, on the heel, you're going to get the full Adidas logo there. So I mean, this is kind of a weird shoe for me because it's like a combination. On the surface is like, it's pretty simple to look at, but I mean, honestly, there's still a lot of details kind of worked into this T-Mac design. So these are definitely going to have like a vintage feel to them, in my opinion, and it is, an older shoe after all. But now let's go ahead and check out and see how these shoes hold up. So now getting into more of the materials and the performance side, and starting off with the cushioning. When the T-Mac 2 originally released, obviously some of the technology and various materials just weren't around or like developed yet for like optimal performance. The initial cushioning, I think, was like first released featuring an Adidas Adiprene Plus setup, but that was replaced with this Restomod edition, and now they're using a more commonly, balanced cushioning design. And like I said, I didn't get to like playing the original model, so I can't speak on how those felt from like a comparison standpoint, but I mean, these do feel pretty good, but I wouldn't say they're going to feel great. And personally, I kind of like to feel a boost or light strike a little bit more. You're going to find that in some more recent signature shoes for players like Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Dame, just some of Adidas's more like recent signature athletes. I just think overall that those cushioning designs feel a little bit softer than the bounce. But these still aren't bad at all. I mean, they honestly feel somewhat soft whenever you put them on. They do feel pretty good, but they definitely did need some break-in time on these. I mean, my feet were hurting in them after a few runs, but they did begin to loosen up over time. And the whole cushioning setup is pretty balanced. I mean, there isn't anything additional stacked in the front or in the back to kind of sway the model. And the sock liner is really padded, so just kind of adds to an overall comfortable feel in general. So the cushioning is going to be pretty average in my opinion. I wouldn't say anything too special, but it doesn't really lack there either. So now getting into more of the materials and the support, these are going to be different than what you'll see most basketball shoes go with now, which is just mostly some cheaper and lighter textiles all the way across the upper. The T-Mac 2.0 is going to come equipped with a patent leather upper though, that like I was saying, it's going to look like it's straight out of the 90s or the early 2000s because, well, that is whenever these came out. But, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily a fan of it, but I'm not against it either. And I actually do like it in the sense that it gives me something, a little bit different to look at and just feel compared to, most basketball shoes that are being released now. That's going to have, they're going to follow more or less the same designs, have a lot of the same materials being used. So, I mean, the patent leather is going to give these a really shiny look. And honestly, I don't really know how these are going to handle scuffing. Can't be much worse than some of the cheaper textiles or like even leather does occasionally. But, I mean, looking at the support, you won't get any additional help in the form of like, a strap, a higher midsole to help with the lateral containment, but there is going to be a small outrigger which will help, a little bit with the balance and just brace your foot to kind of keep it within the shoe. But the part that stuck out to me the most from this model, from like, a performance aspect, is going to be the lacing system. So if you look at each shoe, you can see the loops of the shoe laces, what they feed through on the inner side of the shoe, but on the outer portion, the laces are kind of built into and underneath that section of the upper, making them not visible whenever you're just, looking at the shoe. I'm pretty sure Adidas calls it like, a lace up closure system, or, something along those lines. And I actually really like how that made my foot feel just within this model. Like, it allowed me to get even more locked into the design than you'd be able to with something, that's going to have more of a traditional lacing setup. So, I didn't feel my foot moving around at all. I think support is honestly one of the better spots for this shoe, just from what I felt so far. And Adidas did construct these using a double lasted midsole, I think is what it's called, which is just meant to kind of reduce the weight on these. But I mean, I don't think it really worked. The T-Mac did end up coming out, on the heavier side at 10.5 is going to be weighing, 532 grams. And that is going to put these on the much heavier side, like I just said. I mean, they are pretty comparable to the Harden Volume 6, which is also going to be a heavier model, but these are actually the second heaviest shoe that I've played in since I started tracking shoe weight. Only the LeBron 19s have weighed more, so there are some good aspects to this model, but I mean, being able to move around freely thanks to the weight is not going to be one of them. To finish off with traction, first, I do think it is cool how they worked like that same gold streaking pattern from the upper kind of into the outsole design. It's a minor detail, but still a cool touch. But as far as the pattern specifically goes, these are going to get a traditional herringbone setup with the arrows kind of making up the entire front half of the outsole. And you're going to also have a small break in the middle, and then the arrow pattern kind of picks back up on the back half of the shoe. And Adidas even puts in the description how they used a grippy rubber compound on this model, and that pretty much is exactly how these feel and play. So I was impressed with the bite that these had on my movements, not necessarily because I thought the T-Mac design would feel, outdated to play in, but more so just because I don't really love the traction for most, if not all, like of these signature athletes designs of their shoes within like Adidas. Like, I think these outperform the Don 3s, I think they outperform the Trae Young 1s, the Harden 6s, probably the Dame 8s too. So, I mean, most of the shoe lines have some inconsistencies with Adidas as far as the grip goes from what I've noticed, but these honestly feel pretty sticky, and I haven't struggled in them yet, so the traction has played well. And then to finish off with sizing, I did go true to size, and that worked out perfect for me. The length is good. It's maybe a little bit snug overall. Like, the width is going to be average too, but it's a little bit snug overall, but nothing too over the top. So all in all, I was impressed with this T-Mac 2.0 Restomod design. It was a fun shoe to play in and test out, and a solid performer too. Like, the traction, support, and materials, those are all good. The cushioning is at least average, I would say, and I do like the appearance on these. I mean, so aside from them being, on the much heavier side, if we're going to be honest about it, I mean, I don't really have anything else to knock on this model. They do hold up well. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in buying these shoes and you want to support our channel, just click the link on screen or check out the link below or in our bio. But that wraps up this review. Until next time, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.